real quick, we're going to run through the People's Poll. You can just put it up real quick.
Yes. Gosh, the sensitivity on this mouse is insane.
Well, you got to, it's not like you have a great surface to work with either.
Very true.
The People's Poll is not up on the screen. It's a poll comprised of our top 25s, mine, JP, and Sanders, who's not here, as well as listeners' top 25s. I have it pulled up. Let me go to it real quick. Indiana is now the number 1 team in the People's Poll, which I disagree with, but that is where we're at. And it's a democracy in this poll, hence why it's called the People's Poll, and the people have spoken. The majority believe Indiana deserves to be the number 1 overall team, and so they are. Ohio State slides in at 2, A&M slides in at 3, and that's a pretty clear top 3. There's the only 3 teams that received a vote for number 1. Bama 4, Georgia 5, rounds out your top 5. Ole Miss has a big jump up to 6. BYU jumps 5 up to 7. Oregon a bit of a fall, -3, which is funny because they didn't even do anything. Other teams just had big wins. Virginia all the way up to 10. I believe this is their first top 10 appearance in the People's Poll. See other big notes. Texas up 6. Oklahoma up 7. But well done by the People's Poll. We have Texas ranked 1 spot ahead of Oklahoma. And so we're keeping the head-to-head and saying it matters. Georgia Tech drops 9. Miami drops 8. Tough weekend for the ACC.
Very.
Both in results, and then Tuesday when the first what the heck is it called?
College football playoff.
The college football playoff poll basically all but told us we're only getting 1 ACC team. There is going to be a 1 bid conference.
Crazy.
Because none of them are even in the top 12. UVA I think is at 14, which is their highest. Miami all the way down at 18. I think Georgia Tech's at 17.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good look for them. Shows that the committee does not respect them as a conference, which I think is somewhat fair given how games have shaken out on the field, but still surprised to see it a little bit.
Who would have thought that it'd be the ACC is the 1 bid conference and not
the Big 12? The Big 12 is sitting pretty. I mean, I think BYU and Texas Tech were both in the top 10.
Yeah, 7 and 8, and then Utah is there at 13.
Yeah.
Which means Utah could get in as an at-large and not even make the Big 12 title game.
Which would be crazy.
Diabolical.
I almost feel like I need to apologize. I think when we were doing the big previews, I was like, oh, the Big 12 is the worst conference, so that's what we're starting with, and it has simply not been the worst conference this year.
Not at all.
So,
Hail State's Finn, welcome in.
Utah.
Now number 1 is rigged. Fair.
Utah is back in the rankings, and then Michigan is also back into the rankings. They're the 2 teams that were not ranked last week that are now ranked. Anything stick out to you overall?
It looks like the reason Oregon dropped is because Andrew B. forgot to rank Oregon. I assume he forgot to rank Oregon. I would hope, because otherwise he's insane.
We may have to do some investigation on that. I'm going to assume he did not rank him. I was pretty surprised to see them just drop, because they didn't even. Did they play Wisconsin this past week, or they were on a bye?
I'm pretty sure Oregon was on a bye.
Yeah, so to drop 3 on a bye would be pretty crazy. So I'm going to assume.
Yeah, they were on a bye before the Iowa game. But yeah, that is diabolical. I'm happy to see JMU getting recognized.
Go Dukes.
On that, like it's crazy that no team in the group of 5 were in the CFP ballot. The first one that came out,
100%.
First poll. It just kind of shows, I guess, with the way they are valuing so much on strength of schedule and strength of record, that these group of 5 teams have no chance to compete with any one of the Power 4.
Yeah, USF was kind of the one that would have had a chance, but they've now taken a couple losses. So even the fact that they played a harder non-conference schedule kind of goes out the window when you've taken multiple losses at this point.
Yeah.
I will say that gives me hope for JMU that they could be the group of 5 representatives, because I expected to see a couple American teams in those 20s, and to see none. Maybe the Dukes have a chance.
It could help them a ton, because if they get to 11-1, win the conference championship, they're 12-1. Sun Belt Conference championships are played at home for the better of the 2 teams, so they'll get to play that at home too, which is James Madison is a very tough place to play. And then with the American, if they kind of cannibalized themselves a little bit. Memphis loses.
They already
to,
have. They
to
just need to
Tulane.
keep doing it a little more.
Yeah, this weekend. Then it's kind of JMU's spot to get. I wish they at least gave us some more context.
Sure.
For understanding like where kind of everyone is amongst those, because you get that from the AP poll when you have like the other teams receiving votes, but you don't get that from the CFP poll. So I wish that was there, but it's actually not being ranked is kind of a positive for JMU going forward.
Sure.
And we're excited to see that because JMU in the playoff would be electric, even if they are like 28-point underdogs to whoever they play in the first round.
Yeah, I doubt it would go great.
Memphis is a 20.5-point underdog if they were to play Georgia today.
Chromie, with a couple chats to get to. Chromie says Texas A&M is the best team in the SEC. The college football playoff rankings would agree with you. The People's Poll would agree with you. I would agree with you, at least from a body of work standpoint. And then Sven is talking about how Notre Dame, which I think this was probably the biggest talking point, which kind of ties into the whole ACC not being respected as much as some people thought. Notre Dame being ranked above Miami was the craziest thing, in his opinion, about the most recent or the first playoff rankings reveal. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, 6-2, 6-2, so same record. Of course, Notre Dame has the loss to Miami and Texas A&M. And then Miami has the loss to Louisville, who is still ranked highly, 15th. And then the loss this past weekend to SMU. So it is kind of shocking, point blank. It almost, one way Josh Pate described it was this like an angered ranking of them, like you expected them to do something this weekend, which was beat SMU, and they were ready to rank them really highly inside the top 5, maybe.
Yeah, it feels a little personal almost.
And because they lost, you take it out on them by saying, "Oh, you didn't do what we expected. You're worse than we actually, much worse actually than we thought you were." So it is shocking. I think it's shocking too to be the 4th ranked ACC team as well. I kind of expected maybe even with the 2 losses that they would potentially be above Louisville, Virginia. Maybe not Louisville, but Virginia or Georgia Tech.
100%.
In a CFP ballot, especially when Utah, who sits there as a 7-2 team, is sitting up there at 13, and they can make it as an at-large. So it's shocking. Again, with Notre Dame, I'll continue to bring up the question of if they had lost that game in like week 7 to Miami or to Texas A&M, would they be here at 10? I don't think they would. I think the fact that they're playing hot, that they've won 6 in a row, which I can't even put that in air quotes because they have, helps them a ton. And they just went out, they're in. And they should win out given their schedule remaining. They play Navy, I'm pretty sure, this weekend. And then like the only other tough game is Stanford. At Stanford, though.
Yeah.
Which is a tough place to play. Florida State learned. So
I mean,
it's shocking.
The cross-country trips are just a little rough. I mean, UVA just beat Cal, and it was their first time ever winning in the Pacific time zone. So shout out to them for that. But I agree. I think the biggest thing to me is the difference was so large. It's like 10 and 18. I thought they would at least be a lot closer, even if Notre Dame was ahead. Because, I mean, I agree. I think they factor in that largely subconsciously, but the fact that those losses were, week 1 and 3 of the season, they were to really, really good teams. Miami has the head-to-head. You have to go play at Miami. Yes, Vin, the Stanford thing was mainly in jest. They're a pretty bad team. But I'm more so just shocked that Notre Dame's already inside the playoff picture, too. I thought they'd maybe be at like 13 or 14 and at least put some pressure on them to like have to prove some stuff. But in the committee's eyes, they don't really have anything else left to prove.
It felt like they were going to be at least have to get over the barrier to entry, which would be Miami. Meaning that if Miami had the same record, there was no way they were in because Miami had the head-to-head. And that may end up becoming a thing for a lot of teams like, OU may have the barrier to entry being Texas. Georgia may have the barrier to being for one, the SEC championship because of Alabama, but two, a first round bye.
Yeah.
But that clearly isn't going to be the case for Notre Dame. And it's confusing because it's the case in a few other spots. Like it's going to be the case, it feels like, for Louisville, having Virginia above Louisville, when Louisville has a win over Miami. So it's a little confusing, conflicting, but it is people
I agree.
at the end of the day. So they are going to have varying opinions as you go down a list.
Correct.
For whatever reason. But because like when you have Alabama still above Georgia, which I'm completely fine with, and much of people agree.
Yeah.
But like you said, there's such a large discrepancy between Notre Dame and Miami with the exact same record. It's kind of shocking.
That being said, and this will be the final thing I add, we can wrap up and start getting to the specific game previews. I struggle to feel sympathy for Miami because I know Louisville's a good team, SMU's a solid team, but with the way we were gassing you up to start the season and how you started off your season, losing both of those games is just pretty inexcusable, especially the way you have lost them with all the turnovers. I do feel like you've done it to yourself to find yourself on the outside looking in. Not even really just the outside looking in. It just kind of feels like it's over for you at this point, barring some absolute miracle circumstances and you find your way into the ACC championship game, which legitimately would be miracle circumstances to make that happen at this point. But yeah, I don't feel too bad about it. Maybe I don't completely agree, but you put your fate in the hands of the committee by losing those two games, and this is how the cookie crumbled.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they'll respond. Like, are they going to give up like Penn State did?
Yeah.
Throughout the rest of the season, they host Syracuse this weekend. In down there in Miami, are they going to give up on that game? Now it's like an 18-point favorite. No, 28-point favorite.
Syracuse is especially terrible. I mean, especially when you factor in they're playing a backup QB. Angeli was actually playing well to start the season, and since they've lost him, they've lost any sort of momentum or competitiveness that they've had.
Yeah, I'm curious to see just like the makeup because last year they ended up losing that Syracuse game. I think it was the second to last week of the season, and so there wasn't necessarily time to give up. Now there is. There's still 4 games left. They still have to play NC State, who's beaten Georgia Tech, and Virginia.
Yeah.
They have to go to Pitt, who Pitt got ranked by the CFP. So there's still opportunities technically in front of them that, like, if chaos occurred, they could make it as an at-large.
True.
So I really want to see if they have given up or not. And I think this weekend will show that. If they cover and really blow out Syracuse, maybe they have some fight going forward.
It's a perfect get back on the horse game. I'm definitely worried about it too, just because in his time at Georgia and even in his time at Miami, I don't feel like Carson Beck has shown to be the most mentally strong player or much of a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to have a quarterback that I felt really good about those aspects of him. When you're in a spot like this, all of a sudden, he could just end up shutting down or allowing the rest of the team to shut down.